Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, July 12th, 2019.
Commissioner Garcia, Cabello, James, and Caloza are present. President James, you do have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Sanitation.
Sherry Kuroki, LA Sanitation and Environment.
Good morning, John Olinger, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Yaling Tan from Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Larry Hsu from the Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, just for the record, Commissioner Davis has just joined us, and we will add him to quorum for today.
He was here earlier, but he must have stepped out for a moment, and now he's back.
We will add him. In terms of public comment, we did receive a speaker card under general public comment. We also do not have any commentary neighborhood council comment section. In regards to comment cards for the items, we did receive comment cards on all the items for today's agenda as well.
Okay, well, we'll close our neighborhood council category of commentary. Mr. Coffey's here on number 5. There's been a request by the Office of Petroleum Administration to continue number 5. I know you sent a letter last night, Mr. Coffey, or thereabouts, and I would only call you to the podium just to ask for calendaring purposes. They would like to move this out 30 days, but I want to do it on a day that you're available. So do you have a calendar available? Or?
So you want to continue for 30 days?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll give you a second to pull your calendar up. Do you want me to take some public comment while you do that, or?
No, I can.
Oh, you can, okay. Great. Yeah, lawyers do not keep them. Have to be able to see everything. You can you can propose some dates around that time that work for you, and we can go there.
Would it be possible to do it August 21st? I know that's a little more than 30 days, but I have a vacation.
That's okay with us. August 21st?
Is that a date that works for the
Yes.
board?
Is that okay with you, Dr. Campos?
That's fine, yes.
Okay, then we'll do August 21st.
All right, and
All right.
there'll be a notice going out, I assume?
No notice. Well, the agenda will provide the notice.
Right.
But your notice today is the oral hearing.
10 a.m. August 21.
Yes.
Right.
10 a.m. August 21 here.
Right.
And then the agenda will reflect that, and that'll be out, at least 72 hours before. But now you know.
Very well.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jordan, do we need to do anything else regarding notice on that?
No, but now that you mentioned it, I will not be in the office, but there will be another city attorney here staffing the commission. So
Okay.
perhaps I think that should be fine.
That's fine. Okay. Great. Thank you. Then let's go ahead and take general public comment. Dr. Williams, you have a card in on general public comment.
Good morning. Dr. Tom Williams, Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community. We would like to invite you all, or anyone interested, to a discussion of Playa del Rey and Marina del Rey oil and gas issues that will be held in Marina del Rey at the Shabbat of Marina del Rey on the 21st of July from 2 to 4. We invite you, but get there early because parking in that area is bad. The basic element there is that the city of LA has a lot of idled wells. Sometimes Dogger calls them orphan wells. That is, nobody's responsible for them. What? Orphan wells. The other wells, he's a good guy. But the basic element is, what is the city's responsibility for at least 4 houses in Los Angeles in Marina del Rey? Because they have idled wells either under them or immediately adjacent to them. So one of the issues is, let's get the city together with the county, with the state on the 21st of July. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Arnold Sachs on general public comment.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. For the record, Arnold Sachs, and I hope everybody's well. I was okay. Just needed some time to do some thinking. Got a little situation that has arisen. Point being that one of the supervisors has completely lost his rocker. Unfortunately, this same supervisor is collecting tons and tons of money through Obamacare, through the ACA, with his involvement with LA Cares, which is the county's, not the county's health care program, it's the program that they use to enroll homeless individuals into health care. That, I tell you, is the key, because it's more than enrollment. What he's failing to do, and what LA Care has failed to do, is re-enroll the individuals. Every year you enroll in the ACA healthcare plan, whatever it is, the following year you have to re-enroll. You have to get a new insurance card. You have to do all these little mundane paperwork things that, because they say the county enrolled the people, the key is the county enrolled them, but not into a county program. They enrolled them into the program that was available to the county, which is LA Cares. So they say, well, they enrolled them, they're their clients. That's the key. They belong to the insurance company, which is, again, LA Care or HealthNet. They're pretty similar. There's like two different fingers on the same hand. So the person is collecting $1,000 in premium assistance per person that's enrolled. At 100,000 people in the state, or maybe more, that's $100 million a month. That adds up to a lot of money.
2 minutes.
You need to get them to re-enroll.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Herman, you have a card in on general public comment. Yes, that's what I said. While you're sitting there, Mr. Herman, the clock is running. You're just sitting there.
Get here when I'm able to, but don't fucking threaten me, you fucking white prejudiced motherfucker. You want to be non-discriminatory towards me, or you want to be discriminatory at all? Why don't you fucking learn something? Learn about how to have class and respect people with disabilities, you fucking motherfucker. This is like what you like. You like to engage people to be offensive because you're a white nigger versus another white nigger. And I know how to speak back, bitch. So don't fuck with my mind, don't fuck with my attitude, and don't fuck with me at all. I'm a cunt, just like you, a C-U-N-T. The acronym of a cunt is you and I, bitch, bitch, bitch. Now that I got your attention, you fucking asshole, for the record, I'm submitting these letters for you and the city attorney, Mr. Jordan, for the record, regarding Janice Hahn, and as Mr. Speaker before me, Arnold Sachs, pointed out, you fucking assholes are just taking our money, taking our insurance, taking all this fucking paperwork that you're using against us not to provide us health care. What the fuck's your problem? Then you wonder why people are so fucking fed up with you stupid dumb fucks under 42 U.S.C. 3614 D1 and C, Fair Housing Act, you fucking asshole. Put that on the record. We have rights. You keep fucking asking Trump to give you more money so you can steal. Now what are you going to do about it? You can't do shit. Because Wesson's paying $1,000 to an attorney, Aaron Lewis, to protect his fucking ass from the FBI. Now you know where the money's going, you fucking cunts. And for the record, as far as I'm concerned, disability 36.105, private suits 36.506 is a resolution. Fuck you, City of Los Angeles, and fuck the Mayor of Los Angeles too, you fucking punk.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Herman. We have not one today, but two agenda items, not agenda items, but journals for approval. Commissioner Cabello has approved my motion on approving agenda, or rather journals for May 22nd, 2019, and Friday, May 24th, 2019. Any objection? Without objection, we'll approve both of those. Agenda item number 1, Council District 11, license agreement, operation and maintenance of the Aviation Boulevard Street Detour on Los Angeles World Airport's property. Recommending that the board approve a 23-month lease agreement for the Department of Public Works to operate and maintain a street detour of the Aviation Boulevard located at LAWA-owned property for the Landside Access Modernization Project. That's LAMP. Mr. Sachs, you have a card in on number 1.
Yes, thank you. Again, Arnold Sachs for the record, and for the record, Arnold Sachs. A couple of different things here. One, you're asking the Department of Public Works to operate and maintain a street detour at Aviation Boulevard, and yet this is the Board of Public Works. Is that somewhat of a conflict of interest between the Board of Public Works and the Department of Public Works? And number 2, why isn't the DOT involved in this? Why isn't the LA DOT involved in the street closure? And number 3, who's paying? Shouldn't LAWA be paying footing some of this bill? You know, every time there's something at Los Angeles World Airport, everybody pays but the airport. And it gets kind of like, well, we have our money. It's that definition of liberal and conservative. A liberal is somebody who likes to spend other people's money. And a conservative is a liberal. As long as you're spending other people's money, it's okay. So LAWA spends other people's money, but they get all kinds of income coming in and never spend it on anything. Nothing. There's $14 billion in improvements, and they're still nowhere near close to being finished. I believe, and is there a comment? I hope you put commas in here, because on that previous speaker, I got lost between the first F word, F-bomb, and the 15th F-bomb. I hope there's all commas in there. But anyway, I believe Denver International Airport was built for 1/10 of the cost. The whole airport was built for 1/10 of the cost of what LAWA is spending on improvements to that airport. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Herman, you have a card in on number 1.
Fast enough? Am I fast enough? We know that everyone pays for street detours. We actually know that access and modernization programs is an issue with Willits versus Los Angeles. Have you heard of that, Mr. City Attorney? Willits versus Los Angeles? $30 million a year for infrastructure improvements for the disabled, and not one motherfucking dime going on our behalf. So how far is the nigger Aaron Lewis going with our infrastructure, Mr. Wesson? This is what we're going to say to the niggers of Los Angeles, those fucking dirty niggers who under Covington and Burlington LLP partners have taken away those fucking Jews and are sending them back for $1,000 per hour to do what? A street detour on Aviation Boulevard. What a time of improvement. Let's go back to the dark garden and save America, Trump. Don't fund these motherfuckers. Make them pay out of their general fund. Let them know what it's like to bury the niggers. We intend to do our part. Give us our state rights for law, property, LAWA, fuck you. Give us our state rights. Freedom from those fucking Jews and those Israelites. Nigger will have to fight for every inch. From now on, Brandenburg versus Ohio, U.S. 395, 444, Supreme Court, 1969. Stop violations of our 1st, 5th, and 14th Amendment under Article 2 of the California Constitution. Enforcement of unconstitutional rules and demeaning to impede our right for access is a motherfucker. $30 million where? $1 billion for infrastructure? Fuck you, Mayor Garcetti, and fuck you, Los Angeles, too.
Mr. Berman. Welcome, sir. 23-month license agreement. You'll tell us what we're doing.
That's what we're asking to.
It's a major project at LAMP, yes.
I'm sorry. We're there's a license agreement that has been authorized by the Board of Airport Commissioners and now the Board of Public Works for the extension of 98th Street under and through Aviation Boulevard. The shoe fly, or the detour, is to allow for the relocation of utilities in Aviation Boulevard and to divert traffic during the time of those relocations. And that's pretty much it. The funding of this project is through LAWA and part of the joint venture. And we expect this work to be completed sometime very soon. By the end of the month, we expect traffic to be placed on the shoe fly.
Okay, Commissioner Davis?
And where does the funds come from? Again, you said the airport's budget pays for this.
That is correct. These are monies allocated for the LAMP program and the construction of the streets within the LAMP area.
So this is better known as a bypass.
That's correct. It's a detour for the public to utilize private property adjacent to Aviation Boulevard.
While the construction of the rental car center is being done, is that correct? Or
no, this is for the bypass of traffic along Aviation Boulevard to facilitate the relocation of utilities.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Garcia?
Thank you, President. I just have a basic question. This obviously will impact folks living around that area, right?
There will be traffic impacts for sure. LADOT has approved a traffic control plan and a detour routing for traffic through this area.
Have we given enough notice already to the constituents that live in that area, or do we have a sign? What's our method of communicating to the community that this detour will happen for the next 23 months?
We'll use the standard procedure for signage. There will be prior notification when we open this area to traffic. There will be a message board notification, and then the local area, the businesses in the local area will be notified by the developer.
That's good. When do you intend to do that, and when do you intend to close the actual pathway?
The actual closure should happen sometime between the 21st of July and the 31st of July.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Signage has been up. Hasn't signage been up? Has
Sorry?
signage already been up?
Signage is not currently up because it's not open.
Okay.
Once it's intended to be open, then we'll put up the message board.
Well, they've got various signage for a number of different projects around there, so.
There's a lot of disruption right now in the area.
Just add it on. Okay, thank you very much.
It's actually being well managed. But one moment, I do want to add something for the record, that the Board of Airport Commissioners approved this license agreement. This is in the board report, but I want the oral report to reflect it as well, at their meeting in May. So it was approved by the Board of Airport Commissioners. That's Commissioner Cabello's motion. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 1. Any issue setting number 1 forthwith? We'll send number 1 forthwith. Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 3, various contract amendments from the Office of Community Beautification Contractors. Recommending that the board approve the contract amendments of the following contractors to continue graffiti removal and community beautification services in fiscal year 2019-20. These are various amounts. They're all listed in the agenda notification. On number 1, I'll go through and list the contractors. Central City Action Committee, Coalition for Responsible Community Development, Gang Alternatives Program, Graffiti Control Systems, 2 of them for Graffiti Control Systems, Hollywood Beautification Team, Koreatown Youth and Community Center, Los Angeles Conservation Corps, New Directions for Youth, Northeast Graffiti Busters, Pacific Graffiti Solutions, Sylmar Graffiti Busters, and West Valley Alliance. Secondly, authorize the Office of Community Beautification to increase the ceiling amount of contract C-122616 with Graffiti Control Systems by an additional amount of $250,000 to allow the Bureau of Street Services to piggyback on the contract for cleaning and graffiti removal services of 5 street tunnels located at Sepulveda Boulevard at LAX, Sepulveda Boulevard at Mulholland, Sherman Way at Van Nuys Airport, 2nd Street at Hill Street, and 3rd Street at Hill Street. And third, authorize myself or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract amendments after approval as to form has been obtained by the city attorney. Dr. Williams, you have a card in on number 3.
Dr. Tom Williams, Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community. We're quite concerned in the neighborhood councils regarding our money. However, item number 3 and item number 4 requires the allocation for amendments to existing contracts of over $12 million. With $12 million, the 100 neighborhood councils would be able to double or triple their budgets. I'm quite concerned regarding the accountability of the requests, the allocation, and what we get for this $12 million worth of add-ons to existing contracts. So we will be submitting a Public Records Act request later after we figure out what's going on, because we're also concerned that we have public safety in neighborhood councils. We have beautification. We have various programs. But apparently, most of the neighborhood councils don't even know that these exist. I would highly recommend that the Office of Community Beautification provide a web page where we can see which council districts, which neighborhood council areas are being, you might say, supplemented by these programs, because we have never heard them come to us. So we're quite concerned regarding the coordination between city departments, including the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and these add-ons. So we will be submitting a PRA request soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Mr. Raj can address all that. Mr. Sachs, you have a card in on number 3.
Yes, thank you again for the record, Arnold Sachs, and Arnold Sachs for the record. The doctor brings up an excellent point, actually, that this is one of those things that actually should go to the neighborhood councils. Are these DBAs for one gigantic corporation, maybe? Are these minority-owned businesses? Are they have veterans involved in the program? Do they have women involved in the program? You get a lot of this stuff at Metro. Whew, that was a trippy meeting yesterday. But my biggest concern actually is this one little line in here that says fiscal year 2019-20, because that's only 2 more weeks and it's over. Because July 1st begins fiscal year 2021. So these contracts that you're spending this money on essentially run for 2 weeks. Or are they going to be bills that you're going to be paying for the whole year? I don't know. But this is how the city rolls a lot of times, and this is how things are okayed a lot of times, because you really don't pay attention to those little details. And I'm sure the following speaker will come up and tell you in 77 F-bombs that you don't pay attention to the details. But it's easier to say it this way. Should go to the neighborhood councils. This is another one of those things that should come out of the council district offices, the elected office of the council member, because they get so many different avenues of revenue that they're able to control and hand out as candy to whoever comes to their door with more candy. And it's kind of odd that you would give candy to somebody bringing you candy. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Herman on number 3.
How do we authorize to obtain a city attorney? Well, let me tell you for the record, For liability, just call 424-332-4754. Ask for Aaron Lewis. Ask Aaron Lewis why we have $12 million for neighborhood council supplemented into these white motherfucking neighborhoods that have everything better than us minorities in our poor communities like El Sereno, Lincoln Heights, and Boyle Heights. Oh, you let Jose Huizar and the FBI know that he was stealing money at the Catholic Church Salesian Bishop Amont, money laundering with his fat cunt wife, Miss Reels. But you have no concern about this racist fucking issue off of LAX, Sepulveda Boulevard, Mulholland Boulevard, Sherman Way, Van Nuys, all these fucking Jews that have money up the yang, why don't they clean their own fucking community? Why don't you use federal dollars and state dollars, as you heard from the first speaker, $12 million, pay for the things we need in our poor communities, like Watts, off 103rd and Wilmington, Mr. Davis, fucking junkyard out there. Why not? I'll tell you why, because they're racist. Fucking city of Los Angeles is nothing but an organized terrorist, criminal, corrupted city. And some of you are becoming like Herman Jason Wesson, who wants to sit on the board of supervisors and bend us over and show us how to get fucked up. And we're tired of it. Fuck you, Mayor Eric Garcetti, and thank you to the Mayor of Cerritos for having me last night and giving me coffee and cookies and a good advice and suggestion. Tone it down.
Mr. Raj.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. We're coming before the board this morning to request approval to amend existing contracts in order to put the funding for the fiscal year that just began July 1st and runs through June of 2020. By previous action, the board has authorized the term extension of the contracts, and this action will allow us to amend the contracts in order to put the funds into place. OCB contracts primarily with nonprofit community-based organizations for community beautifications, for community beautification services, including graffiti removal. These contracts are on a citywide basis. They cover every single portion of the city of Los Angeles. The funding amounts reflect an increase in funds that was provided by the 2019-2020 budget allotment in order to help alleviate some of the restrictions faced by OCB contractors due to the prevailing wage. These funds are based on a rate scale of approximately $26 an hour. At this point, there has been no prevailing wage determination made to change the existing rate, but we're hopeful that will occur at some point in the not too distant future. During Budget and Finance Committee hearings, the council members stated that they wanted the graffiti abatement crews working at full capacity as of July 1st, and if that means we may need to go back to request a mid-year budget adjustment in order to cover additional costs should there not be a new prevailing wage determination, that we would be encouraged to do so. The mayor's office has concurred with this plan of action, so as of July 1st, graffiti...
And by the way, Paul, that plan of action was something that we discussed at the budget hearings as well with the city council.
Yes,
yeah, in the Budget and Finance Committee. So go ahead.
So as of July 1st, graffiti abatement crews are gearing up and now running at 100% capacity, which is an increase, compared to last fiscal year when a lot of the contractors had to run, 50%, 75% capacity in order to stay within budget due to prevailing wage. Over the past year, OCB contractors removed 24.9 million square feet of graffiti from over 431,000 locations citywide. One note, it should be, we want to highlight, or I don't know if highlight's the right word, but one of the OCB contractors, Sun Valley Graffiti Busters, has decided to no longer continue as an OCB contractor as of July 1st. So the area in which they serviced in the northeast San Fernando Valley has been split up between two other current OCB contractors, Northeast Graffiti Busters and New Directions for Youth. These funds pay for approximately 100 field worker jobs, as well as an additional 30 administrative supervisory jobs. And we do request board approval to allow us to amend the existing contracts.
Just a couple of things, Paul, before I go to my colleagues on their questions. You come every year for this, correct?
Yeah.
So it's about that time of year again.
It is.
And for the Sun Valley Graffiti Busters, the slack that is left by them leaving can be made up. The two that you referenced, Northeast Graffiti Busters and somebody else?
And New Directions for Youth.
Okay. Both of them have the capacity to pick up where the exiting contractor left off?
Yes, they do, because we took that budget allotment that would normally go to Sun Valley and split it amongst those two contractors. Sun Valley Graffiti Busters had 3 field workers. Those workers have now been placed, 2 with Northeast Graffiti Busters and 1 with New Directions for Youth. So the funding and the field workers are still in place.
So there we go. We don't lose the experience either. The experience of the workers we don't lose.
Correct, exactly.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. Commissioner Davis.
Wanted to just get some clarification. In terms of the South LA service delivery of these services, including graffiti removal, as it relates to, for example, the 9th District, is it Central City? No, is it the Coalition for Responsible Community Development that handles the service delivery?
Yes,
of graffiti
yes.
removal? And then
For pretty much all of CD9 except for the downtown area.
I see. And then as it relates to the 8th District and the 15th District, the Watts portion, which is South Los Angeles, would it be the Gang Alternative Program?
Yes, Gang Alternatives Program services all of Council District 15, including Watts, and they also service the southern half of CD8. I believe Slauson is the dividing line. So from Slauson to the south, they maintain Council District 8 and 15, and the northern part of CD8 is taken care of by the LA Conservation Corps.
The northern part of the 8th?
Correct, north of Slauson.
And then the Conservation Corps also does the 10th District?
Correct.
Now, we don't pay the Conservation Corps, do we? I don't see, are they here?
They should be on there. I hope they're on there, because yes, we do pay them.
They're on there.
Okay.
Yeah, they're on there.
Where are they?
They're in the middle.
In the middle.
They're under Korea Youth and Community Center.
Oh, they're under community.
$640,000.
No, is LA Conservation Corps on there?
Yeah, there is.
Okay, all right, good.
I read them all.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. They are on there for the amount
For
of
council districts?
$640,000.
Council Districts 8 and 10. Mr. Herman, you're not part of the discussion, sir. You have your opportunity to speak in a moment. Go
Okay,
ahead,
I got
Mr.
it.
Raj.
I got it.
Okay.
I see it.
So LACC, northern part of CD8, and the majority of Council District 10, although Koreatown Youth and Community Center does a portion of CD10 as well.
I see. And the council offices still remain involved in terms of our outreach for those potential young people or people in general who will do the work. Is that?
Yes, all of our contractors are in constant communication, primarily with the field offices, checking in with them, making sure that, there are any issues or hot spots that they're aware of that they need our contractors to pay attention to. When they are outreaching to look for people to hire, either regular jobs or summer youth jobs or anything like that, they work closely with the council offices.
Great, because I think it's continuing to be of benefit for us, particularly around summer youth jobs, that this become a part of the overall effort that the city has done well in terms of keeping our young people working during the summer. So I'm very happy and wanted to know that as we are like in the middle of summer, that this program is still a part of keeping our young people working and busy during the summer months.
And summer is typically one of our highest sort of spike periods about graffiti. Kids are not in school. It's warmer, so you can stay out later at night and stuff like that. So we do find, typically over the summer, that graffiti tends to spike up quite a bit. So.
Now, also, I know that there was some new technology that some of the companies were using where they have trucks that come through and spray in some areas. Do we also have access to that kind of service in graffiti removal? I know, obviously, we want the young people to be able to remove it out, but do we use this new, I don't know if it's new anymore, but where the trucks come through and they can expeditiously spray out and remove graffiti? Do we have that?
Well, our crews do use paint sprayers. I mean, some of them have them on trucks, some of them carry them on trailers and things like that. But we're not just strictly using rollers to go up and down and clean the graffiti. We do primarily try to use the airless sprayers. When there's graffiti on a light pole or a stop sign, we use a chemical solvent to remove it. When there's graffiti on a unpainted concrete block wall or sidewalk, we use high-pressure water blasting.
And then my final question to you as the administrator of the program, have you been overall satisfied with the performance in terms of our service delivery on graffiti removal? Do you basically feel that the work that we have done in this area has been to your satisfaction as the administrator? Or is there something that you'd like to see that we need to do to increase our performance?
Yeah, well, this past year, I think, because of the prevailing wage issue, really did affect the amount of work that crews were able to do. We removed about 4 million less square feet of graffiti than the year before because we had to adhere to the prevailing wage cost increases, and there was no increase to the budget. So I do feel, on the one hand, that the contractors were out there doing their best that they could do under the conditions they were working on, but there was a lot of graffiti that did not get removed, a lot of requests that took a longer amount of time to get to. So putting our crews back to 100% capacity this year, we know they're playing in catch-up mode, just trying to catch up with a lot of stuff that was out there, but I do anticipate that response time will increase back to acceptable levels, that square footage will go up, and that as we drive around and do our monitoring reports, that we'll be seeing less graffiti out there.
Yeah, my final comment is I know that Commissioner Garcia had been working on helping to resolve the problem with regard to the rates in Sacramento, and I did talk to the Speaker's office, and his administrator, special assistant, said that they would be of help to us to hopefully help us get to a conclusion and an agreement, because I hear you in your testimony saying that would help dramatically in terms of increasing our performance, so that I will I will give you that number as well.
Yeah, yes, and just to let you know, we are having constant conversation, just even early this morning, about where we're at, and we're just, the state knows we're in the midst of waiting for the unions to send the clarification letter, and I think we should have an answer after that. But but just so you know, we're constantly having conversations via email every other day. I think we're on the email chain with updates.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Commissioner Cabello.
Thank you, President James. So when you were here a few months ago, maybe a month or two ago in the previous fiscal year, requesting the contract amendments, that was for the summer youth jobs, an increase for the summer budgets, correct?
Yes, right.
And this, I'm assuming, obviously, is in the new fiscal year. This is what we were allocated, and this is increasing it moving forward for the new fiscal year. Just wanted to know if Sun Valley Graffiti Busters was part of the summer youth jobs program, and if so, if they're no longer continuing with us in the new fiscal year, where are those kids going?
Sun Valley Graffiti Busters was not part of the summer youth funding.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything further? Commissioner Garcia.
I thank you, President James. Paul, two questions. Do we have a reason why Sun Valley Graffiti Busters is not renewing their contract?
They had some internal issues that necessitated not being a viable contractor moving forward.
I feel confident that those two agencies that are nearby, I think one of them is in Sun Valley as well.
Yes,
They'll
correct.
be able to cover that area that's really much needed. So I just want to make sure that that does happen.
And I'd be happy to brief you on.
Okay, maybe we'll do that after, because it's out in the valley. My second question, I know you said after July 1st, we'll go back to 100%. Can you tell me what the turnaround time would be now?
Turnaround time should be, 24 to 72 hours for requests. Just a basic request of paint out and stuff like that should really be 24 or 48 hours.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes a little longer if it needs the water blasting or something like
Okay.
that. But,
Okay.
That's where we want to get to. I mean, as of July 1st, some of our contractors were still backlogged with a huge number of open requests that they need to try to catch up on and stuff. One of our contracts in here is for a strike force team, and we kind of deploy them on a weekly basis in high impact areas. So we are looking to see which contractors still have a number of open requests, and we'll put those strike force teams in kind of to just help them close that gap.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Anything further, Commissioner Cloza?
Thank you, President James. You don't have to answer me here, but I'd like to touch base offline just to get an update on how one of the contractors is doing, CCAC, on their corrective action plan and what progress has been made, if any.
Okay.
So just a comment.
We can touch base on it.
That was a motion by Commissioner Davis on agenda item number 3, seconded by Commissioner Garcia. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending number 3 forthwith? We will send number 3 forthwith. Mr. Roch, you're here on number 4 as well, but we've got some speaker cards, so we'll come back to you in a moment. Agenda item number 4, various contract amendments, Office of Community Beautification Contractors. Recommending that the board authorize OCB to execute amendments to the contracts for a continuation of services to provide for the public right-of-way cleanup for fiscal year 1920 as listed below. Dr. Campos, one question. One moment. Okay, let's go back to number 4. I'll start over. Various contract amendments, Office of Community Beautification Contractors. Authorize OCB to execute amendments to the contracts for a continuation of services to provide public right-of-way cleanup for fiscal year 1920 as listed below. And I will list the amount of the amendments along with the contractor. Coalition for, all the contract numbers are in the agenda notice. Coalition for Responsible Community Development for $100,000. Gang Alternatives Program, $190,000. Hollywood Beautification Team, $75,000. Koreatown Youth and Community Center, $85,000. LA Conservation Corps, $125,000. New Directions for Youth, $60,000. Pacific Graffiti Solutions, $65,000. Sylmar Graffiti Busters, $20,000. Northeast Graffiti Busters, $80,000, and West Valley Alliance, $100,000. Secondly, authorize myself or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract amendments after approval as to form has been obtained by the city attorney. Mr. Sachs, you have a card in on number 4.
Yes, I do. Thank you. For the record, Arnold Sachs, for the record. First, the gentleman who spoke from the city about the graffiti removal did correct me, and I absolutely was 100% wrong. You get caught up in the fiscal years. It is going to be fiscal year 1920. I don't know, 18, 19, 1920, because then you have the government fiscal year that starts in October. That being said, my big concern about this item actually is the need for, is there a need for prevailing wage. Because prevailing wage, as the gentleman mentioned, is a union wage. So why are we paying union wages for graffiti removal? I mean, should they pay living wage? Could they pay minimum wage? Could they pay federal minimum wage? Well, that's a problem that needs to be discussed immediately. The difference between the federal minimum wage and the city's living wage or the city's $15 wage, because federal minimum wage is the basis for a lot of federal programs that people will be impacted on, that'll create more hardships for the residents, because all of a sudden they won't be eligible for the federal programs they're enrolled in because their city wages are too high. Doesn't make sense. And that being said, there's one of these items in here that one of the groups is getting over $2 million for its graffiti removal, plus there's same things are median cleanup. There's a program that's available, revenue bonds that allow for revenue to pay for bonds to do cleanup. Why doesn't the city or the county investigate that? You know, they talk about this for major projects.
2 minutes.
But
Thank you,
that's
Mr.
it.
Sachs.
Thank you.
Dr. Williams, you have a card in on number 4.
Dr. Tom Williams, basically the same issues. We need more information regarding all of these amendments, but also the original contracts. And we will be submitting a PRA request, but get it online so that people don't wonder as to who do they call and when do they call and who's doing that paint job. Because I've reported many, many paint jobs to 311. I've also done graffiti removal on fire hydrants. So you have a lot of people in the 100 neighborhood councils that are doing work right now that we don't get paid for. And we don't even know, in most cases, that there are other people that are doing the same and where they're doing it and when they're doing it. So information is power. So give us some power. Get a web page specifically for these sorts of contracts. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Mr. Herman, you have a card in on number 4.
For the record, I'm down to 1 minute and 20 seconds. But on July 1st, why do we have to go to full capacity when the city is in dire strait of an eyesore? Everywhere you look, trash, graffiti. The city's so run down, we even have little rats at City Hall. And you foresee a theory creating an anonymous situation for delay of services? That's fucked up. But yet, U.S. versus Rene Gonzalez Lerma, number 94-4195, December 11th, 1995, Section 841A1, 1992. How far did the niggers go to not provide jobs for the working middle-class man living and struggling in poverty? How far does the Los Angeles conversation go in CD8 and CD10? Now the niggers want money to fund a program that should be funded day in and day out. The way we recycle Eric Garcetti's shit is the same way we should have the Los Angeles Conservation Corps working in our community to improve it, but you cheapskate motherfuckers are gonna hold back from Mr. Roch. Give them the fucking money to clean up our communities. Instead of sending it to LAX with all those white, discriminatory, white motherfuckers called Jews. I got nothing against Jews, but the niggers are fucking up our communities. All those white fucking Jews that get all the first-class treatment, and we, by you racist motherfuckers, are given cheap cheese, like those fucking rats you have at City Hall, you stupid scumbag. So, let us not distribute in violation of 21 U.S.C. Section 841A1, the sentencings of Judge Spader to comply.
Mr. Spindler, you have a
right
card
there.
in.
We get 2 minutes. We didn't use any fucking time, nigger. So, we have the fundings for niggers. So we start with community nigger development for 100,000 years. Now we go to Koreatown, and all you have to do is call up people. There are no niggers in Koreatown that I'm aware of, are you?
None.
So therefore, all you have to do is call up the service by Mr. Dratch is excellent in Koreatown. They come right out and remove the graffiti. Thank you to all of our Asian neighbors. Yogosao. Now we get back to the other areas involving niggers. Now, the problem with it is when you're a nigger and you have tagging, this is a very difficult thing to remove because you have to go into the ghetto. And when you go into the ghetto, they start firing gunshots into your fucking truck and they steal your tools. And they call you also names like Spick, they call you Asian, and they call you Mook. Yes. So the blacks do not like it when you go into their neighborhoods to clean up. Most niggers prefer dirt and garbage, but they do not like drug needles. So graffiti is art in the ghetto. So we would like to remove all of the graffiti abatement in the following CD districts. CD8 with that bald-headed tennis shoe-wearing cocksucker Marquise Harris Dawson. No money for you, bastard. And then CD9, current price going to prison. Fuck you too. And then finally, Herman Jason Wesson in the 10th district, except the Asian areas. No money for you. Go to prison, you filthy, short dick, little cocksucking nigger. And not for supervisor, for your friend Rudy Thomas, who's another scumbag son of a bitch.
2 minutes.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Roch on agenda item number 4.
Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. So most of the OCB contractors that provide graffiti abatement also provide weed and litter abatement services along the public right-of-way. That's what these funds are for, and approval by the board would authorize OCB to amend the existing contracts in order to provide fiscal year services for weed, litter, and debris cleanup. Over the past year, these OCB contractors cleaned over 8,100 locations, collecting 116,000 bags of trash, weeds, litter, and debris from along the public right-of-way. They also picked up over 11,500 discarded large items from along the public right-of-way and properly disposed of them. 23.5 jobs are provided by utilizing these funds for public right-of-way cleanup. Just to answer a couple questions that were raised, the cleanup funds work is also subject to the prevailing wage. It just happens to be at a lower dollar amount than graffiti abatement, so it fits in with what the city was paying anyway as far as living wage and minimum wage and stuff like that. Secondly, just to answer Dr. Williams' question, OCB staff goes out on a routine basis and outreaches to neighborhood councils to explain our services, to answer any questions, and just make sure that they have an understanding of services provided. All of our contractors are also in communication with the neighborhood councils that they service. This summer, we're making a special outreach to all the Summer Night Lights programs that are going on throughout the city and having information booths at those just to try to hit another component the public that might be interested in knowing how to outreach these services. And then finally, just a special shout out to President James and Mr. Jordan, who get to sign all these contracts on behalf of the city. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Roch. Any questions? Commissioner Cabello beat me to it, and Commissioner Garcia beat me to the second. So that'll be Commissioner Cabello's motion. Commissioner Garcia's second. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a nice weekend.
You too.
Any issue sending agenda item number 4 forthwith? We'll send agenda item number 4 forthwith. Let's go to agenda item number 2. From Sanitation, a cooperative agreement continuing participation in the Southern California Stormwater Monitoring Coalition and Research Needs Program for a period of 5 years. Recommending that the board first approve and forward the report with the transmittal to the mayor to authorize the director of LA Sanitation and Environment, or his designee, to execute the Southern California Stormwater Monitoring Coalition cooperative agreement. And secondly, authorize myself or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the agreement upon approval by the mayor. Mr. Sachs, you have a card in on number 2. Ted.
Yes, thank you very much. I do have a card on number 2. For the record, Arnold Sachs. Very quickly, item number 2 refers to a cooperative agreement. What would be the difference between a cooperative agreement and, I believe in item number 1 was a license agreement? And there's several other agreements that we have. There's an MOU, there's something else with a message, not an MOU, but an MOA, a memorandum of agreement. It's these different legal phrases that are used by the government that really throw people off. And you may believe that A is for Apple, but A is not necessarily for Apple. A could be for Arnold. I got done in by the word "and" in a board meeting at Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, right in front of the 5 board members. So it's always about the language. I can't tell you enough times that it's the language that everyday usage. You could say something on the street, or you could say something in here that would be totally different on the street. Some people like to come in here and throw F-bombs out and N-bombs out. But if you take it out on the street and do the same thing, they'd have a different kind of, I don't know, reception maybe. So what you can do inside here in enclosed offices is one thing. But what you say and do out on the streets is entirely different. I'm sure the people that behave like, I don't know, burring jackasses don't behave like that in other parts of the city because they're too afraid to go and behave like that in other parts of the city. But here, a judge
2 minutes.
and somebody pays them to
Thank
do
you,
this.
Mr. Sachs. Dr. Williams, you did not have a card in on number 2. I don't have a card for you on number 2. Mr. Herman on number 2.
Talking about a California Stormwater Monitoring Coalition. But let me give you bar license of 115953 of Paul Martin Kokorian, and that of Jose Luis Huizar at 195726. These bar licenses are offensive because the research it needs for these programs of 5 years is not going to resolve any California Stormwater Monitoring Coalition because our water is contaminated. Last night out there in Cerritos, Mayor Solonsky and I got into a real good agreement about water conservation. How arsenic is poisoning our small cities because the assholes from Los Angeles keep dumping Exide battery fluids into the LA River. And it still has not been fixed, cured, or correct, for the record. But now let me go back to the significant portion how I could understand. How far is the nigger going with the storm drain? Yeah, that is what we're going to do, and say to niggers who don't fix our water, to execute the Southern California Stormwater Monitoring Coalition to cooperate with us, the public. Instead, you raise our taxes. You make us pay for higher water fees to clean it, and it's still fucking contaminated. Our children are getting sick. Our fucking children are having disabilities over dirty fucking water because you don't fucking care. You sit here like you care. You should do something, Mr. Davis. Who do you represent? The white coalition of these white motherfuckers? Fuck them. Support your clan, bro. Come to our hood. Minorities, we rule. Fuck you, Mayor Eric Garcetti.
Mr. Spindler, you have a card in on number 2.
Yes, so we want to talk about the stormwater runoff and how it affects niggers. This is a very important concept.
What do you mean?
Well, you see in certain areas, for example, the Jews, they usually flush down medical prescriptions, marijuana, and condoms. But in the ghetto, and Mr. Davis understands that, they put everything in the sewers. They put chairs and tables, they put mattresses, they put bags of coke, everything through the fucking sewers. And then it runs off into pretty places, yes, the goddamn fucking Bay of Santa Monica. So all the rich, wealthy Jews who pay all the taxes, make all the laws, and hire all of you have to swim in endless levels of shit, all caused 90% by niggers. This is a terrible, terrible thing that the board has to deal with. Now, if we had any members here who were African American, which we don't, as you can see, all 5 of these people are all white Jew cocksuckers. So they don't care about that. You don't care about the stormwater drains. You don't care about the ghetto. No, the ghetto is simply for people who have failed in life. All of these fucking people in CD9, CD8, and most of 10, and the northern part of CD15 called Watts, are all fucking fucked up. They're all on drugs, they're all on Section 8, they're all waiting for Section 8, they're all living in tents. They're all there. So I have a new solution. Let's cause a tidal wave, open all of the fire hydrants, and wash these poor, disgusting fucking niggers into the fucking ocean so we can have a nice city again. Thank you so much.
Minutes.
Mr. Yu on agenda item number 2. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm Charlie Yu from Sanitation. Today we ask board to approve sanitation to continue participate SMC, and this is a new 5-year agreement. The last agreement expired June 30th. The new agreement will start July 1st for next 5 years. And SMC has been supporting the stormwater research for the past 15 years, and the city is legally required by the LA MS4 permit to participate in SMC activities. So this is the new 5-year agreement.
Oh, yeah, as the board report references, in 2006 it was voluntary. It now became part of our MPDS permit, so it's a requirement. There's a list of the other 8 MS4 permit holders that are, actually the agreement is with 14 other agencies. They're all listed in the board report as well. Any questions? Commissioner Caballos made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Thank you, Mr. You have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Any issue sending number 2 forthwith? We will send number 2 forthwith. Dr. Campbell, that clears us of our voting items, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. We have an oral report today, and it is on major projects that are occurring major street improvement projects that are occurring right now at Street Services. Let's go ahead, sir, and we'll take you first, Mr. Vargas.
Good morning. President James, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, Executive Secretary, City Attorney. My name is Andrew Vargas. Apologize. In an effort to keep the public informed on resurfacing projects, which may cause delays to commuters, Streets LA would like to provide a status update on major upcoming street improvement projects. In our metro resurfacing region, the following projects are scheduled. We are working on Sepulveda Boulevard east from Westchester Parkway to Sepulveda Eastway and Lincoln Boulevard on Saturday, July 13th. Sunday, June 14th, we will be cold milling and paving Westchester Parkway, Sepulveda Boulevard to Sepulveda Boulevard Westway. In our Valley resurfacing region, the following projects are scheduled. Saturday, June 13th and Sunday, June 14th, we will cold mill and then pave Pico Boulevard from Sawtell Boulevard to Barrington Avenue. Monday, June 15th and Tuesday, June 16th, we will cold mill and pave Barrington Avenue from 130 feet south of Mississippi to
Mr.
Olympic
Vargas,
Boulevard.
wait one moment.
Yes, sir.
Let me just say hi. We've got some people that are here visiting us this morning. Hi, everybody. We're the Board of Public Works, the full-time oversight body we're appointed by Mayor Garcetti, confirmed by the City Council, and we oversee there's 5 bureaus and 5 divisions of the Department of Public Works. The 5 bureaus, since we're really the infrastructure department, the 5 bureaus are sanitation, street services, which we're getting a report on right now of the major street projects that are happening, street lighting, contract administration, and engineering. The divisions are the Office of Petroleum Administration and Natural Gas Safety, our Office of Film and Television Production, and our Office of Accounting and Financial Management Systems, as well as our Office of Community Beautification, namely graffiti removal. We just had a report from them earlier this morning, as well as our Public Affairs Office. Just a couple of fun facts. Be sure and notice the seal that's in the center of the ceiling. When this was designed in 1928, it's been there ever since. This room that you're standing in is one of the most filmed rooms in the city of Los Angeles outside of a movie studio. Many movies and TV shows are filmed here. Most recently, we had the joint episode of Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder. Were both filmed here together. There are a number of Lethal Weapon has been filmed here recently. A Few Good Men was filmed here several years ago, a very famous courtroom scene. And so the room is used a lot for the film and television industry as well. So I just wanted to share that with you. I see that you're touring City Hall, and welcome. Is there a school, a specific school or group? Great. Welcome to City Hall. It's an amazing place. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Vargas.
Thank you, President James. Thank you for the info also. I didn't know any of that, so.
All the filming stuff, right?
great.
Yeah.
Yes. Also on Monday, June 15th and Tuesday, June 16th, we will be cold milling and paving Ohio Avenue from Veteran Avenue to Cotner Avenue. Thursday, July 18th and Friday, July 19th, we will be cold milling Veteran Avenue from Ashton Avenue to Santa Monica Boulevard. Press releases were broadcasted and notifications have been issued. Streets LA has coordinated with the council district's office to assist with the outreach to the communities. And we have coordinated with the Department of Transportation for traffic control assistance to mitigate the impact on the community. This concludes my oral report. Any questions?
Okay, yes, Commissioner Cabello.
Thank you, President James. And thank you, Mr. Vargas. I don't think I've been on the board long enough to get a report on our resurfacing. update, major street project update, so forgive these questions if they seem a little basic. Number one, just maybe wanting to point out or question why it's called Valley Resurfacing Region when clearly those are all West LA area. I think it's CD11, Sawtelle, Santa Monica, Veteran, Ohio, Barrington, Pico. Why is that called Valley? I know that's West LA.
Correct. So the city's so large, and the Bureau of Street Services, as far as the resurfacing is concerned, we're divided in half. So we took Pico Boulevard as basically our center line. Everything north of Pico Boulevard would be the metro area. I'm sorry, the valley area. Everything south of Pico would be the metro area.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. And I'm curious as to why all of these big projects are just, and not that our residents in the west side do not deserve resurfacing, but what's the schedule or timeline for other parts of the city?
This is just a weekly report. We'll get those as the weeks go by. If you want the yearly.
No, I don't need the annual report. I'm just curious because I've been on the board since November, so granted it's not been a very long time, but I've yet to see anything for any of the districts I cover, which are CDs 1, 13, and 14.
Well, the reason for that is because their proximity to where our asphalt plants are. So CD11, CD5, CD15 are the furthest out. This being summertime, we take in consideration the travel time that asphalt gets to our job locations. So it's ideal in the summertime for that asphalt to be traveling furthest out. In the wintertime, it wouldn't be feasible. By the time the asphalt would get to these locations, that asphalt would be cold, and it would affect it would affect the placement of the asphalt.
Okay, good to know. Finally, if you wouldn't mind maybe sending me the last reports, you have something similar to this for those 3 districts. Okay, never mind. I will wait until you present to us the ones on 13, 14, and 1. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Davis.
How regularly do we do the reports to the board? Are they quarterly, or this is it's going to be weekly? They're going to be weekly reports.
That is correct. These reports will be weekly.
Okay, wonderful. And where does the funding come from our resurfacing project?
So the fundings come from different sources. 2 of the major fundings for the projects that I mentioned are our PPP, which is the funding. It's our pavement preservation program, and one of the other projects is an STPL. I don't know what STPL stands for, but it's a project, one of the main arterials.
I can add a bit to that as well.
Yes, President.
There's for resurfacing funding comes from some from Measure M, some from the state gas tax, some from the SDRF, the street damage restoration fee, and some from the general fund as well.
Well, good. So I want to thank you for this particular report, and certainly we look forward to the future reports that you're going to present to us. And I do know for sure that our residents throughout the city are always pleased when you are improving the streets and when you are paving them and resurfacing them. So thank you so very much for this hard work, and we look forward to your future reports.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Vargas. So the oral report will be received. We have some speaker cards on the item. Did Dr. Williams put in a speaker card on item number 6? I think I have one. I do. Go ahead, Dr. Williams.
It would have been kind of nice to know what he was going to talk about before he did. However, I'd highly recommend a web page for street services to have it publicly available online, real time, as to street closures, when projects are going to start, when they're going to finish, when asphalt is going to be laid. All of these are interesting, but for me, it's specific to the Soto Street widening. And we've already gone through the issues of community communications during the Soto Mission Huntington Drive intersection. And now we're still experiencing problems regarding the Soto Bridge widening over the Valley Boulevard and the UP Railroad. but the neighborhood councils don't know what's going on because nobody informs them and there's no easy way to access. We are coming up to the Soto Street widening, and you're going to see me down here a lot if you don't have it online as to when, how, who, and give the contacts so that we can directly communicate with street services and the contractor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. We have a speaker card from Mr. Sachs. Mr. Vargas.
Yes, thank you again. For the record, Arnold Sachs, and Arnold Sachs for the record. And thank you for the Board of Commissioners for asking such pointed questions. I appreciate that. We heard a north-south dividing, but we didn't hear about east-west dividing. That would be interesting to know. Also, if you're a history buff of some of the city council actions, there was a time a few years ago when the city was considering a sales tax measure to do some balance the budget, but Mitch Englander and the councilman from the 15th District, Joe Buscaino, they came up with a report that the city had done in the late 90s regarding the street surfaces, that they had done a comprehensive review of all the city streets and graded them out, which was really somewhat fascinating because 10 years later, you had America Fast Forward, which was allocating money to the city of Los Angeles for all this street maintenance work that was going to be done. And the magnanimous Wendy Gruhl, who was the commissioner of that committee that heard those reports, said everything was shovel ready, but they had no projects ready for shovels, which is somewhat disingenuous. But another part of this, Mr. Commissioner, you mentioned the PPP, which brings into effect the amount of money that's in accounts that can't be used for some reason. Maybe they ran out of oats for the horses, but the horses, or the oats, whichever, has $20 million in that account, but they're the wrong oats. And so they can't use that $20 million. There needs to be a better plan for the city to go into these accounts and maneuver that money back into use so that it goes into the general fund at least. Thank you.
2 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Herman, you have a card in on number 6.
How do we improve streets? Well, we have to circulate jobs. We have to open up the gateway cities to create jobs. So people like me, dark skin, can actually make a livable wage and not feel frustrated that the next paycheck might end my rent. So what do I want to do? I want to acquire a job. But I says, Dennis versus United States, 341 U.S. 494, 1951. And then I yell out the window, Yates versus United States, 354 U.S. 354, 298, 320, 324 of 1957. Community development, social transportation for street improvements, and I fall on the ground. Because Woolits versus Los Angeles was to spend $30 million to fix our fucking streets, our curb ramps. And those transportation niggers leave us standing on the corner waiting for access. You think that's cool? I don't believe that's cool, Mr. Mayor Eric Faggot Garcetti. Puto. Come to my hood, the ghetto of Boyle Heights, and see how I struggle in my community where the infrastructure by Jose Weiss are stealing all those fucking dollars through that cunt wife at Salesian High School, Bishop Amont. Because you allowed the church to rape our children. You allowed the church to money laundering for that fucking corrupted politician, Jose Weizar. That's the reason why I don't have street improvements. And those two assholes, Mitchell Englander and Joe Busciano of the 15th District, fuck you too, assholes.
Mr. Spindler, you have a card in on number 6.
That's right. So yesterday, me and Mr. Spindler got off on the 118 freeway off of Balboa and exited onto San Fernando Road, drove down to Louise, all the way down to CSUN. The streets are perfectly paved, smooth as glass. Pretty, pretty place. So you see, they're the fucking Jews. That's why it looks that way. Go over there and see how they pave their streets. But when you go down to niggers, the niggers have bumps all over the road a mere 2 weeks after you're done with your fucking slurry seal. We don't want your fucking slurry seal. We want the same nice roads that the Jews have in CD 12 and CD 3. It should not matter if your ass is black, brown, or yellow. It should not matter if you have a tail.
No.
Yes, it does matter. I have a tail. I'm a fucking cow. In fact, I'm a nice, healthy cow, unlike that fat fucking cow, Monica Rodriguez. Yes, that's right. You fucking cow. So we want better street services. On the corner of...
Van Owen Street.
In front of Bob Blobbenbleld, a.k.a. Bubenfield's office, a water main broke. And you just put the pavement over... It's so fucking bumpy that their fucking truck jumped off the road. Get the fuck out there and do it right. Just like you do for those fucking kikes over there. And that Mitchell Englander, that filthy fucking little son of a bitchin' Jew. He's a nigger. Fuck you. 42 USC. Thank you so much.
All for our speakers. Mr. Vargas, can I call you back, sir? Just a couple of questions. When Streets LA goes into a community to pave roads, they provide notification to adjacent property owners, both business and residents, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And information is also, the BSS website's bss.lacity.org?
That's correct.
Okay. And there's also the public right-of-way reservation system that's available online as well, too, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And our neighborhood councils are notified when paving is going to be done in the area?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And Street Services is also working on a dashboard that is going to be much more user-friendly for that to Dr. Williams' point, that's going to be up soon, right?
That's correct, and it'll cover all the basic service that Street Services is responsible for.
Okay, great. Thank you for the oral report. We'll hear from you next week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Dr.
time.
Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Okay, then we are adjourned, everyone.